What's going on, nerds? Welcome back to Comic Book Nerd Nation, episode number 91. We got the whole crew here this week. I'm Fox2. We got Pirate.
Hey, guys.
Topher.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the show.
And the whole effing Brian.
Yeah. Hi.
All right, so...
I knew he wouldn't copy me if I was already acting like him.
If you were acting like he was before we started recording, yes.
Chris wasn't copying you, so I decided if either should I copy you or...
All right.
Brian just had a
Decided just
meltdown.
go
He's like, can't
Oh my
compute.
god! With my
I
life!
can't compute.
What do I do?
All right. Let's talk about... let's jump in and talk about what we've been reading. We're going to skip myself and Pirate, because we're irresponsible comic book podcasters who don't read comics every week. And we'll just go over to Brian, because I don't like Topher.
Well, I read 2 books. One of them I'll leave out.
We could pretty much just stop the show right there because that just summed up the entire podcast.
Don't hate.
I think people are waiting for this.
Yeah, I think people want to hear what Brian has to say.
No, not what I have to say, what both of you have to bicker about. It's like Magneto and Professor X over here. I don't know. Well, you can see Doug's chair that he's sitting in, so he's Professor X. Chris is Magneto.
So I'm the smart one, and he's the irrational one.
Well, they're both
take it.
smart.
No,
I mean,
your legs don't work.
Yeah.
You're the useless invalid hypocrite.
Well, no,
and
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I'm the effective one.
There's been so many times that the X-Men are like, yo, Professor X, you're a dick. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But I read 2 books. One of them was Justice League, still the Dark Side War. Batman's a god. He's just like, yeah, I'm fucking on this chair, and I'm awesome. And at the end of the book, Superman turns into this evil, like, negative version of himself. Even his color scheme looks like he's fucking been used out of a negative picture.
Does he sit at a bar all day long?
And complain? No.
Yeah. Like
But-
from... Oh, nobody caught that?
He's just like Lex Luthor. I'm gonna kill your ass.
Was that Superman 2 or Superman 3?
But yeah, he also takes the symbol off his chest and throws it.
Yeah, and he's got like this like the slick like old school like his I don't know, like the oil in his hair just laid everything down.
Like he like went out partying
Are you talking
the night
about?
before.
Are you talking about the one where he's at the?
I actually bought that one.
Are you talking about
Yeah.
the one Pirate where he's at the like truck stop or whatever
Yeah.
and like
They're-
moping?
Yeah, no, I don't know if he was a truck stop. He was at like sitting at a bar with a shot of whiskey. It was like
Maybe
drinking whiskey.
But
like-
how can he drink whiskey? He can't get drunk.
I know. It was the one where he fought himself in the junkyard.
Oh, when he fought Clark Kent's self.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's the Dark Side War. It's fucking awesome. Jeff Johns is writing it, so it shouldn't be different than awesome. And I read Star Wars, but I know Chris wants to talk about Star Wars, so I'll let him talk about Star Wars.
Well, hopefully his mic isn't going in and out like yours is, so maybe we can understand him.
Oh.
Topher?
Yeah, last week after the podcast when I was like, yeah, I didn't really read. I read like one comic. I'm like, I should totally read some more comics this week. So like right after we stopped recording, I grabbed my stack of comics and I'm like, I'm gonna read some shit. I read 2 comics and then I haven't read anything since. So
You
I guess that's
accomplished your
more.
goal.
I guess that's twice as much as last
if
time.
you set
I
the
only
bar
read one
low.
comic.
You did read more comics.
Yes,
That's
set,
good.
set the bar
So-
low
Yes.
and you will
Right.
succeed. And then if you take that success and put it into ratios, you look really good by the fact that you've read 200%.
Exactly. So yeah, I only read 2 comics this week. I read they were both Star Wars. I read Darth Vader #7 and I read Lando #1. So those both came out
That's two
a
really
few weeks ago. So
That's 2 really polarizingly opposite covers. Like one looks
Right.
badass, the other one looks like the fucking box of a 70s porno.
Yeah, that pretty much describes both characters to a T. You know, both of those probably came out a few weeks ago, so Brian's probably like, "Oh, what the fuck? You didn't even read the one that came out this week yet."
No,
So,
you didn't even read the one that came out this week. I could have talked about it and ruined it.
Exactly. So yeah, like the first story arc. So there's several Star Wars comics right now. Fox was just asking before we started recording, you know, how many different series there were. So there's the main Star Wars ongoing. There's the Darth Vader ongoing, and those two are very intertwined. Like the plots of them. I mean, they're taking place, yeah, concurrently, like exactly like Brian's hand motion there. I mean, like I could almost see the comics in his now. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
I don't think
But those
anybody
two-
knows where you were going with that.
So those two have been like the best so far in my opinion. And then they've got a third ongoing that's Kanan the Last Padawan. It's based off of the current Star Wars Rebels cartoon. They're up to issue 5 on that. I've got them, but I haven't read them yet because I'm not caught up on the TV show. But I've heard that TV show is pretty good, and
Yeah,
I've heard the comics
really
pretty
awesome.
decent. So,
For kids' cartoon, people die.
yeah,
Which cartoon is it? Is that the the
the
one
Star
on
Wars
Netflix?
Rebels. The one on it's the one on Disney Channel right now, or
That's-
Disney X.
That's
Year.
the one that is canon.
Yeah,
Disney Channel is.
yeah. That's actually like all the stuff that and that's the other thing that they're making a point of now. Like ever since Disney bought all the shit, like. And Marvel started doing the comics, everything is considered canon. Like this isn't like the old expanded universe stuff where people would make comics and, you know, maybe it was true, maybe it happened until George Lucas decided to shit all over it with the Clone Wars cartoon and say, nope, this is what happened.
Well, that's
is
that canon too? I think that's canon too.
Yeah, everything in the comics now. Wait, well, I mean, of the stuff in the comics.
Clone Wars
used
is
to
canon.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like George Lucas would come out and say, you know what, let's do this with the cartoon show, and so the cartoon show would change things that maybe had been done in the comics or the.
So
or the
I have a
books
question
before.
about that then.
So-
Like back, I remember in high school reading like several books by Timothy Zahn.
Not canon.
Heir to the Empire.
Not canon. I get that, but like, how did that shit work? Like as far as publishing rights and stuff, like did they clearly had to get permission to do a Star Wars book, right?
It was definitely licensed.
So
I
they're
mean
like
there was
licensed
a whole
but not real.
there was a whole very large, you know, very expansive expanded universe. I mean, and I've read a decent number of the books.
Yeah, I read like 4 or 5, and,
And some,
they were all
and
good.
some of it's really good.
Yeah.
And so like it especially with Timothy Zahn stuff, like after that, like it kind of exploded and a whole bunch of people started writing stuff, but it was all done under license, and there was actually a continuity team who worked on making sure that whatever somebody would write was going to be in continuity with everything else. And so you couldn't write anything that contradicted the movies. You couldn't write anything that contradicted the other books or the comics. So like all of that was considered canon, but at a lower level of canon, because George Lucas still had kind of master control over everything. And so basically everything that happened in the books and comics before was considered canon until something that was a higher level of canon came out and changed it, at which point the lower level stuff got overridden and thrown out. So basically George Lucas said, yeah, sure, you guys can write all the stories you want. That's cool. It's awesome. I'm glad people like it. I'm glad people like it, but it's not really the story I'm trying to tell, so I'm not going to bother keeping up with it. So if I end up stomping on it, too sad. Oh well.
Clone Wars New 52.
Yeah, so so when the Clone Wars cartoon started coming out, you know, obviously it being a cartoon and an ongoing series, George Lucas was like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do this, and it was just a bunch of fun little stupid shit. But unfortunately, it was kind of like, taking little tiny dumps all over certain portions of the expanded universe at times. I mean, don't get me wrong, the cartoon was really good. I enjoyed it. I liked it, but yeah, unfortunately, like one of my favorite series at the time, Karen Traviss was writing a Republic Commando series that was really fucking awesome. That kind of delved into the background of like the Mandalorians during like the Clone Wars and stuff, and she had this whole big thing going, and like she was like 5 or 6 books into her series with only like a book or 2 left to wrap it all up, and then George Lucas was like, you know what? Despite everything, all like 20 years of video games and books and novels and comics and everything, describing the Mandalorians as kind of like a loosely collected, tribe of warrior ideology, honor-bound, mercenary types. I'm just going to decide that it's an actual race and it's a planet full of pacifists, and there's just a few like bad Zeeds that that are the militant bunch. Well, and everybody was like, "Wait, what? Really?" And so they told Karen Traviss, "Yeah, sorry, you can't go where you were going with your book." And she's like, "I've been writing this for 6 books now. Like, you want me to just change the ending all of a sudden after leading up to this for 5 books?" And they're like, yeah, yes. Or just, well, stop. It has to work within the confines. And they're like, God damn it, George Lucas. and she's like, nope, sorry, that would completely ruin the story. Can't do it.
Not doing it.
So she quit, and that series never got finished, which is a shame because they were really fucking great books. But anyway, so you had like all this expanded universe, which was canon within itself, and it was all like you wouldn't have 2 books that contradicted each other. Like they all had a continuity to them, and it was amazing like how well maintained that continuity was for an expanded universe. But then when Disney bought it and they said, you know what, we're gonna do Star Wars Episode 7. There's gonna be new movies. I believe that's my neighbor's dog. If you're looking around trying to figure out what that barking is.
It sounds like there's a goddamn aircraft taking off outside my house.
Oh. So when they'd said, oh, we're gonna do new movies. Everybody was like, well, are they going to do the Heir to the Empire books? Are they going to do Timothy Zahn's? Are they going to do an adaptation of his stuff? Are they going to do and they basically looked at it and said, you know what? There's so much shit written, and not shit.
We're not going to do any of it.
There's so much that's been written. We don't want to have to make movies around all that or do movie interpretations of that. We want to be able to keep doing new stories without having to dance around 100 books worth of established storylines. It would be hard to do a story with the main characters and not conflict with all of that.
Yeah.
So they said, you know what? They said, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to draw a new line. All the old expanded universe stuff, we're going to call it the Star Wars Legends universe. So basically it's kind of like an alternate set of stories, like what could have been kind of thing.
So is she going to finish that one book now? That book series?
And that's what I keep saying, but I doubt it. I mean, she was writing those, she started writing those like 10 years ago or something like that. Like the last one came out in 2000, I don't know, mid 2000s ish. So I mean, it's been a while since she did those. So I highly doubt she's going to come back to it now. That'd be really cool if she did. And I've said several times, I'm like, that means she can go back and write it because now it doesn't conflict. But I don't think that's the way it works. So. Yeah, so, I mean, they basically took everything and they said everything that happened after Return of the Jedi in books and comics, it's kind of out now. Like, it's there, but now it's kind of like an alternate universe. Whereas
stuff that came out in the beginning, right? All the old Republic shit that they started writing.
Well, and they've said that most of the stuff that comes out before then, for now, we'll go ahead and kind of keep it ish until it disagrees with, because most of the stuff that was written about like the Clone Wars or prior to like Old Republic, like all the really old shit, like most of that stuff was written after all the movies were released, because nobody could the reason why all the stuff was written after Jedi was because for a long time there was kind of like a ban on writing stuff from before the original trilogy, because those movies hadn't been done yet. And like they were like, okay, don't write anything about that because you're probably going to end up stepping on what the prequels are going to do. So all the books and comics and stuff that came out about stuff earlier than the movies was all written after the movies came out, so it doesn't really contradict anything. So I think they're kind of keeping that intact for the time being, because all the new movies and stuff are all post Jedi. So
well, what I always thought was kind of weird was like with the Force Unleashed series and stuff like that.
The Force.
It's like a Forza.
Faja.
Those because Vader was there some books written where Vader didn't die in Return of the Jedi?
No. Force Unleashed takes place before that.
Oh, because they're going around hunting down all the Jedis. In it.
That's before A New Hope that those games take place.
Yeah. Force Unleashed takes place between episodes 3 and 4.
Okay.
Because it's basically during it's like the beginning of the formation of the rebellion. It's when Vader's going around killing all the remaining Jedi during the purge after episode 3, and then the formation of the rebellion before episode 4.
Now, did you guys play the Star Wars games that were like way prior to that, like Rebel Assault?
Yeah, I had one for Windows 95.
Dude, Rebel Assault was the shit.
I know.
You're talking about
Rebel Assault was
TIE Fighter versus
1993.
X-Wing.
That was fucking that was for DOS. That was like the first one, I think.
I had
that game was
one, and that was like
Rebel Assault 2.
Rebel Assault 2 was sweet too. I always liked Rebel Assault 1. I remember playing it like fucking obviously a long ass time ago, but I had one of the I liked flight simulator computer games, so I had one of the joysticks.
Oh yeah.
And my favorite was the very first level where you got to fly the Tidarian shuttle through the canyon.
Yes.
And like you got to choose like the hard route or the easy route, and you could go through.
God,
and
I
shit.
love that.
That was like, to me as a Star Wars fan growing up, that was like the ultimate realization of like putting you into Luke Skywalker's shoes and like wanting to join the Rebel Academy and shit. It was fucking awesome.
Then the later level where you were driving the speeder bike, flying the speeder bike through Endor.
That was a good one. And then on the second one, remember you had to fly the Millennium Falcon through, I think it was through a...
the asteroid field, or was that something?
No, I think it was the Death Star or something. I can't remember if it was the Death Star or if it was... Maybe it was an X-Wing through a Star Destroyer.
There have been a lot of great Star Wars games.
There really have.
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
That was a good one,
like,
too.
all those, the space combat games were amazing. Dark Forces, when they did
Forces,
like, the first-person shooter.
That was like Doom, wasn't it, almost?
Yeah, it was a first-person shooter, but then it evolved, like, the third one, it then became kind of like a third-person adventure game, and the main character, like, realizes that he has some control over the Force, and you end up with the
that was like the lead into Force Unleashed, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
No.
But you had it was
the
Dark
game
Forces.
that was like right before it.
Oh, no.
I thought that was not like in continuity, like one game, not like one story went to the next, but like in like chronologically, like they released Dark Forces 3 and then they not
even close.
I wonder how I missed that.
You had Dark Forces, then Dark Forces 2, and then it became Jedi Outcast, and then
Academy.
And then you had and then I think there was a Jedi Outcast 2, and then there was Jedi Academy, and those were all like post Return of the Jedi. It was Kyle Katarn as a started as a stormtrooper, and then you found out there was this like dark side cult, and then he realizes that he has Force abilities, and then the Jedi Academy, like he becomes he gets trained by Luke Skywalker to become like one of the first of the new Jedi, and then they reopen the Jedi Temple, and like the Jedi Academy was like the story of like the next generation, like the students, and you actually got to play. Like that game was so fucking fun because like the character like was kind of flirting with the dark side, and so like you could choose your Force powers, and so it was like it was kind of like a third person, walk behind, but you had so much control, like with the mouse and stuff. You could do like force grip. You could like reach out and grab a stormtrooper and pick him up and crush him, or you could like just turn. You could just grab people and with a flick of the mouse, just fling them up against a wall or throw them off a cliff. And like you could force lightning people. It was so fucking fun.
You would not believe how many fucking Star Wars video games there are.
Oh my god, there's like a ton of them.
Listen to this. I'll just read off.
Still to this day, that's one of my favorite games ever.
I'll just read off some of them, and this doesn't even count like the expansions, and like some of which on those older games, the expansions were basically an entire other game that just like related to the first game. It wasn't like we think of now for like small weapons packs or things like that for video games. It was like a whole nother storyline. You had Rebel Assault, X-Wing, Rogue Squadron, Starfighter, Jedi Knight, Jedi Knight 2, Battlefront 1, 2, plus a couple others. Looks like Rogue, Renegade Squadron, and Elite Squadron. Then they had the Star Wars pod racing game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, when you think about all the different things they do in the Star Wars universe, like there's just so many kinds of games you can make. You've had the space games, you've had the racing games, you've had you've even had a fighting game. There was Star Wars Masters of Teräs-Käsi, like on the original PlayStation game. That was a fighting game. That game was
as a Tusken Raider.
Right here,
awesome.
1997.
That was a great game, and maybe I'm just looking on these a little bit more favorably because they were Star Wars licensed games, and like everything Star Wars just is more fun than a non-Star Wars version of a game, basically. But I mean, a lot of these were really good games. The original, the N64, one of the first games out during release was Shadows of the Empire, like a third-person, shooter adventure game, and it was one of the best games on the N64 for a long time. And like it was like just the stories that were in these games were really fucking good, and I think that's what made a lot of them like just so good, was that like it being such a rich universe, there's just so many good stories you can tell.
As much as I hate the episode 1, have you ever been to like Dave and Buster's or somewhere that has a lot of arcade games? They have the fucking pod racing, like the thing that you actually sit in, and it has the fucking like the 2 handles for the throttle to where you like steer with it and everything. That's awesome.
There's the other Star Wars game you sit in with like the dual joysticks.
That's the one where you're like a TIE fighter or something, isn't it?
Well, it's got several missions. There's like one where it's like a space battle, and then you've got another one where you're actually using it to like swing like a saber, like and like dueling with Darth Vader.
I've not done that.
Yeah, there's just been so many fucking cool Star Wars games. But yeah, so where we were going with all this was the fact that like all that stuff like was kind of set aside as, okay, that's an alternate universe. Now that we're doing these new movies, this is going to be a new set of canon. Like we're telling a new set of stories. We're kind of wiping the slate clean on everything that happens after Return of the Jedi, and we're going to do a whole new set of stories starting with these movies. And so they've said, though, that everything they're doing now, since it's no longer George Lucas, being like, I'm going to do my movies and I've never read any of your books, so
look at my no chin.
If I stomp on them, sorry, oh well. They've basically said, you know what, we've got an entire Disney staff here. Like, we're going to make sure that all of this stuff actually ties in and counts. So the new books that they're writing, the new comics that they're doing, all these series, like the new Star Wars Rebels show, all of this is actually canon. It counts. It's not getting thrown out. it happened just as much as the story in the movies, happened. So like it's all official canon that's that counts. So like I've heard that in Star Wars Rebels they introduced some like some of the bad guys, the Inquisitors, kind of lead up to what's going to be in the movie. That you kind of get not necessarily hints of things, but you kind of learn more about like the backstory of some of these different groups from like watching the TV show or from reading the comics. And I'll be honest, like the Darth Vader and Star Wars comics, those two titles have been some of the best comics I've read in recent times. And again, I don't know how much of that is just me being a geek over Star Wars, but I mean they're really well written, and for any Star Wars fan, I highly recommend them. So you've got those three ongoings, and then there was a Princess Leia miniseries that was 5 issues long. It just ended recently. It was decent. I don't think it was up to it wasn't as good as the other stuff that they're putting out, but it was still decent. And then they just started the Lando series. I think the 2nd issue just came out like a week or 2 ago of that. And so it's going to be another 5-issue limited series, and so far it's been pretty cool actually. That one's written by Charles Soule, so pretty much everything he writes has been awesome. Then they're coming out with a Chewbacca limited series, 5-issue miniseries, and then there's actually going to be a lead up to the movie that gets released here in a month or two. I think that starts coming out because it's I think it's a 5-issue limited series that leads up to The Force Awakens, and so it's going to be like an actual lead up prequel, kind of like takes you up to the movie, lets you kind of a primer on everything that's been going on, like kind of gives you the backstory to lead up to the movie, and just everything they're doing ties in right now. Like even the video games, like we were talking before about Star Wars Battlefront, and you listed the Battlefront games there. That they're coming out with that looks really neat, and you're actually going to be able to play one of the missions there. One of the scenes is actually like if you've seen the trailer, and I know everybody here has seen the trailer, like the opening scene where there's like the speeder cruising across like the desert, and a lot of people thought it might be Tatooine. It's a different planet. Yeah, it's some other planet I can never remember the name of. But there's a crashed like Star Destroyer on the planet, and like Star Wars Battlefront. Oh, and there's the guy with the mower. Star Wars Battlefront. You'll actually be able to play that battle. So like the aftermath of that battle is what's left there on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, talking about all of this like really honestly makes me want to go back and like dig through my old boxes of books and find like Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn and get it out and read it, and like look for my old Star Wars cards if I had them and play. Like I'm seriously considering buying like a collected version of those Star Wars cards and just having you guys over and just playing them for a couple hours, because it would be worth the $40 or $50 or whatever to buy a ton of them just for the like.
I'd play the hell out of that.
Yeah, just for the moment to step into that time portal and go back to being a kid.
I still have the introductory box set that you could get with the Star Wars collectible card game. It was like
that had the like 2 starter packs and like the, 2 booster packs and the rule book and shit.
Yeah, I still have that.
It had the light side and the dark side or whatever. Like
yeah.
Sony announced last weekend that they're coming out with a PS4
with Darth Vader on it
pack with Darth Vader on the side, and it's going to be a bundled with Star Wars Battlefront, and it's going to have 4 like remastered 4 of those old video games we were just talking about, like the old one of the old like Super Nintendo Star Wars side scroller games.
Wow.
One of the, I think the Pod Racer game maybe. another one of the the Jedi Starfighter, I think, and then there's like 4 old games that they basically redid, ported over, and so remastered for PS4.
Or you could sign on, download Steam, and they have a shit ton of those Star Wars.
Oh yeah, it's like
I might have.
What about Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah, that's another one.
People, that's one of the. To me, that's one of the best computer games ever made. Like, and like a lot of people say they absolutely love that game, and I think, you know, like even like it's one of the early BioWare games, and even outside of the fact that it's Star Wars, I mean, I think that game would stand very well on its own. So I mean, there's just been so much good shit branded with Star Wars that it's pretty awesome.
Well, this is kind of a perfect segue, this huge, massively long Star Wars conversation that we just had, into one of our news stories for the week.
Wait. John, new song, please.
All right, we'll take it.
Not my best.
Didn't sound much newsy, but that's all right. Yeah. That sounded more like the tabletop game of the week, which we're skipping this week.
Shit. Yeah. I got confused.
Okay.
Brian, that's how I find out we're skipping my segment. God.
Brian, cue him again for the music.
And today, Comic Book Nation.
All right.
Give it to Fox.
We'll take it.
The news.
So this long conversation we had a lot to do with continuity, which is obviously a huge part of the Star Wars universe, like we just talked about. DC Comics, Jim Lee went on record talking about the continuity moving forward for DC Comics is going to be, he didn't name it this, but a lot of people have coined it a loose continuity.
Like the chick on the corner?
Like the chick on the corner.
Hey-yo!
His point is that they want, moving forward, the writers to be able to focus on the story more than the continuity, and be constrained less by the continuity of the overall universe, but more be able to let their creative minds go with the story of the character around.
You mean they don't do that already?
I don't know.
Some of the continuity is out there already.
Let me see if I can.
I hadn't heard this, but my gut reaction to this is, wow, that's terrible. Okay, now
here's the quote.
Now I'm really never buying any DC comics.
We're really asking the creators to put story and character first, and really focus in on canon rather than continuity. Co-publisher Jim Lee explained.
Yeah, well, the continuity is like they shoot it out of the canon. It just goes everywhere.
This is an attempt to refocus the line, focus on story, and let creators tell their stories without necessarily being confined by the restrictions of continuity.
But if there's no continuity, then like.
What we're trying to do right now by diversifying our line is to find the different styles and tones that people are really reacting to. That was Dan Didio.
So read the book that you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so does that mean?
As well.
Does that mean that they're not going to have so many like interweaving crossovers where you have to read like 40 fucking Blackest Night tie-ins to know what the fuck's going on, or is it going to be like
now?
Or does it mean that you're
as
going
a
to have
Marvel
like
fanboy, you can't be throwing Blackest Night under the bus when Civil War had 97 fucking issues.
Just saying. And you read most of them and thought they were good.
Yes,
so
Blackest Night was good.
All of Blackest Night was good. I don't know how you could use that as an example.
Well, some of the tie-ins were kind of shitty, like the
Superman. Same with fucking Civil War. I mean,
because Marvel didn't make comic book stores buy 100 copies of the main title just to be able to order the side tie-ins, knowing that they weren't going to be able to sell them all and then losing money having to throw them all away. So
where are you getting this information from? Now I'm interested.
There was a whole.
And how is that DC's call and not Diamond Distributing's call?
There's a whole big thing. Well, okay, maybe it was
since DC doesn't and Marvel don't sell anything to comic book stores. They sell everything to Diamond or other distributing, mostly Diamond, and then Diamond sells to the comic book store. So wouldn't that be?
Diamonds are
I think your beef
forever.
is not with DC, but with the distribution company.
Your beef is wrong.
well. The DC and Marvel still determine like the variants. I think like what like some of the like the whole 1 for 50, different covers and stuff. So I think there are certain things that they, okay. So I'll be honest. I will admit I don't know whether that was Diamond or DC, but there was a whole big thing. Like most like little comic shops were kind of pissed about the whole Blackest Night thing because it was very hard for them because they couldn't carry all the titles unless they bought far more stuff than they could actually sell. And so they ended up having like a ton of stock on a bunch of stuff that they couldn't get rid of and ended up having to throw away a whole bunch of comics. I remember that story at the time. Like I don't know exactly whose fault it was in the end, but like Blackest Night as an event like screwed over some local comic stores pretty hard.
But it was a good story.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I encourage discussion. Pirate, do you have anything to say? No, not a motherfucking thing. He's just sitting there. This is literally turned into the Topher and Fox podcast because Brian is looking at his dick apparently and fucking Pirate just shaking his head at the two of us.
Can we have a new theme song for this Chris and Fox fight?
Fight music, a fight theme. You need to do it like you need to keep it up at like repeat it on a loop the entire time we're arguing.
This is not a porno music. What the fuck? Nobody's getting fucked in the asshole.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Somebody's getting checked into Pound Town. I'm telling you.
Nobody wants to watch you pluck your G-string on camera.
Yeah, no shit.
Oh, baboom.
All right.
It's actually an E and a D, but whatever.
He loves plucking on the
D's.
D's.
He gave you the D-string.
Yeah, I don't want to watch you slapping the D.
He loves E and the D.
Beating the D.
Fucking. Oh my god. All right.
What were we talking about?
Moving on.
What were we talking about?
Whose book
is going to be?
Oh right, the fucking canon being all over the place or not existing. Like,
okay,
part of the thing that makes like comic book stories so great sometimes is like the history to them. Like what makes an arch rival if like there's no history to their meetings.
Let's face it,
and, like, what they've done.
With the New 52 and Secret Wars, they're both destroying their history. Or destroying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that like what makes a rival if there's no history there, but you can't say that that's the only thing that makes good stories is having these long.
He's a bad guy and he's a good guy.
Like,
that's all the history you need.
Yeah, if you look at some of the greatest stories like Batman Earth 1, that's a completely standalone, it's not in canon at all. Gotham by Gaslight, that's also a great story, not in canon at all.
I agree that there can be some great stories not in canon. I mean,
there's a bunch of them. I mean,
as an X-Men fan, I know all about alternate universes and stories that don't necessarily count. But
wait, he said X-Men. Pirate, we need an intro.
What the fuck?
Yeah, breaking. It has to be breaking.
Intro for what? I already said it. Like the comment's over. It's gone.
Yeah,
you need an outro.
I can tell Pirate what we need.
Yeah.
All right.
I have too many intros I have to try to read them.
You gotta start writing it down.
Brian's our music director.
Yeah, I'm the coordinator of musical talents.
But like,
when are we gonna get some?
That just, you might be able to tell new stories, but I think it makes for stale characters. Like if you don't, and I know that Batman hasn't exactly grown considerably over the 70 years or however the fuck long he's been published. You don't really think of
75.
characters changing a ton, and becoming completely different people a lot, but they can. And part of what part of what keeps characters fresh is seeing them in a different light, or some major event that changes them, or like a personality change. Like a lot of characters, something bad can happen to them, and they'll go through a period where they act differently. It changes who they are, and if there's no continuity, you don't have that. Basically, every story
getting killed. Part of what
every
makes it
story
great too, though,
starts
is like a character that you like staying the same. He's the character that you like. You identify with characteristics about that character. So, I mean, there's two sides of that coin. Like, yeah, that's interesting, but it's also interesting to know that like every time you go and read a Superman book, 99% of the time you're going to see the same Superman you've seen.
Oh, you pretty much already do, which is why I don't read Superman, because he's boring as shit. I think
he wears his underwear.
That you read Superman.
I read Superman, but
I mean, I just
well, good for you.
Well, you're not Topher, so you're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, these aren't
name's not Cyan Klops, then fuck you.
Well, fine. Maybe that's not the Batman I need, but it's the Batman you deserve.
Listen, anybody could be Batman.
To me, it's just like if you don't have continuity, then you can't do those things that put a character in a new light. You can't do things to make things fresh. Every story, you're basically starting from the same starting point. Like every story, you're going to get the exact same thing. And I mean, I guess you could see that as consistency of character. I see it as stagnation. Like I see that as limiting the number of stories you can tell when you can't do carryover things where something happens to them that affects them in a long-term manner. And obviously pretty much every character always ends up returning to the status quo at some point. But like you lose the opportunities to tell those longer-term stories that happen when a character changes for a while. Also, that might be great for established characters like Batman, Superman, the Joker. I mean, obviously, there are a gajillion stories you could tell about Batman and the Joker that don't necessarily, like, that rivalry is already established. You don't necessarily have to have some kind of ongoing continuity to tell a good story with those two.
I do.
But what about making new characters? What about like establishing some new character and having them become, take a foothold and becoming as popular as one of these established characters? How do you get a body of history for that character to be able to characterize them and know what they're about and what's happened to them? If there's this loose continuity that, well, how do you know when exactly that stuff happened? Like, I feel like that's also. So therefore, I feel like it's also a hard
flashback scenes, bro. Flashback scenes.
They're not doing away with continuity. They're just not. That's not their main focus.
I just feel like that's also a difficult environment to establish new characters and be able to bring them to the prominence of some of the older ones.
Splash panel plus fuzzy border. Flashback.
Boom! Dropping knowledge.
Problem solved.
But that would be continuity. Holy shit!
They are now mowing Topher's living room, apparently.
I think they're shooting the sequel to Independence Day, and some house next door just got blown up by a fucking...
It definitely sounds like the aliens are landing on your fucking roof. Holy shit.
You need to hang up egg cartons in that room or something.
Jesus Christ, that's horrible. In other news, if I could focus over the fucking Independence Day situation. Yeah, that's pretty much what it sounds like. All right. And they're muted. Okay. So, moving on, Pirate.
Hey, look, we can undo your mute.
Yeah! Fight the power!
That's unfortunate. So, yeah. Stephen Amell is going to be on SummerSlam. Talk about it.
Yeah. He's fighting in his Arrow costume.
Are you serious?
I'm done leading into stuff.
Yeah, somebody said something about, like, hope he doesn't bring a stunt double.
Hey, Pirate, what do you think his entrance music would be?
You're not the director of music.
Crashing down and it hurts inside.
I don't know.
Oh, wait, he's Canadian. Come on.
Yeah.
Can't be a real American.
I don't know. It's obviously just a promotional thing, like a cross-promotional situation. I don't really have a feeling on it either way. I think it's.
I don't watch wrestling.
I don't either. It's really popular.
Is he gonna bring Roy and they can do tag team?
I think he's got.
No.
It is a tag team thing.
Out of the crowd's gonna come Diggle.
Diggle. Pull him out of the ring.
The last bit of news before our eardrums start bleeding from whatever's going on outside of Topher's house. Star Wars World is coming to Disney World and Disneyland.
Wait, before we talk about
this is like the fucking Star Wars podcast this week.
Yeah, I just want to say how out of order we are because we were talking about Star Wars for like 45 minutes, took a break, and then all of a sudden,
now we're back
hey,
to
Star Wars World.
Yeah.
Couldn't break this off while we're talking about Star Wars.
Might as well. Well, we started with it. We might as well finish with Star Wars. I think it's going to be awesome.
I'm going to go opening year.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing a lot of changes down there. They added, I guess it's a while ago, but they added the Harry Potter world, which was wildly successful.
Harry Potter.
I've been to the Harry Potter
I would
one
like to go to that.
at Disney World. Yeah, the one
Disney
in Florida,
World, yeah.
and it's freaking cool. Like it's really neat. Like everything's just done up. Like
I heard it's completely immersive.
It's super cool.
Like you're in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people around. I don't know if you can really quite say that. You know, I
Other
don't
than all
remember
the
those.
tourists.
I don't remember
Russian
like
guys.
hour and a half long lines of tourists in the movie, but you know, I mean, that being said, it's really neat. I mean, like all the storefronts, like all like they had a bar where, a restaurant there where you could actually get like butterbeer,
yeah.
you know, in like goblets. Like they rethemed a couple of the rides, for like a dueling dragons kind of thing. One of the roller coasters. They've got the locomotive engine there for the Hogwarts Express.
Doesn't that bring you to Diagon Alley?
Yeah, so they just added the Diagon Alley stuff like in the last year or two, I think. And I haven't been since they added that, but I've heard that's pretty cool too. My mom went there actually. But yeah, I mean it was really neat the time I went there. So
yeah, I would.
If the
I would
Star
love
Wars
to
one
see.
is
I'd
half
love to
as
see
good,
the
it's gonna be
Harry
awesome.
Potter and the Star Wars. I think would be. There's so much
Dude,
like we were talking about. There's so much stuff.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
having a drink, like getting a, having a beer in like the Mos Eisley Cantina?
That would be
They
awesome.
said
how
there's going to
fucking
be
cool would that be?
They said like it's going to be the whole park's going to be submerged in like different aliens and different droids from the movies, and there's going to be a cantina. And the two big rides are one where you can pilot the Millennium Falcon, and another one you're caught between a battle between the Rebels and the First Order from the new movie. It looks fantastic.
It's
I
gonna
can't
be awesome.
wait. I'm gonna
Pirate,
go and start.
Have you ever been down
chopping
there to
people.
see any of that stuff?
Who, me?
What?
Yeah.
Last time I was there, I was pissed because it was like 2005, and they redid the Pirates of the Caribbean ride because of the movie and shit. So I was like, motherfuckers. So then I was going to go again, and now that they're filming the new Pirates of the Caribbean, they shut it down again.
They shut it down. Damn.
So my family just went last year, or actually just a few months ago, but it's so expensive, and it's so like
Yeah, that's enough.
crowded, and
I haven't been there in like 15
lines.
years, probably.
Yeah, the lines are ridiculous. They have this fast pass thing now where you can like
Pay
check
extra
in.
to.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
like check in and it holds your place in line, but you can only do it like once every hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. Like it's a gimmick, man. You can't go there like just one day. You have to go for
Like a week.
several
Fuck,
days.
yeah.
And then it's $100 a day a ticket, or $125, and it's expensive.
Damn.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap, but it was fun.
I definitely want to go, not so much to see everything again. I mean, I'm sure tons of stuff. Like I said, I haven't been there in like
You
15
can't see
years.
you
but-
can't see everything
Yeah,
regardless.
the only things that I have any interest in at this point would be the Harry Potter world and when it's done, the Star Wars stuff. I think that would be really cool to see. Other than that,
I can't wait for Marvel World, and then Chris could show up in a wheelchair and fucking sit in the X Mansion.
Didn't they cancel that though?
I heard the first one went terribly.
Are you talking about the traveling 3D?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
the
canceled.
Marvel Experience.
The Marvel Experience got canceled. They only did one.
The first one failed
Just
so
bombed
miserably. Just everything they had so many malfunctioning pieces of equipment and everything. It was terrible. The parking situation was miserable. People got in and then didn't even get to do anything because they couldn't find their registration, or they would get in, they'd wait for 2 hours on a line, and then the thing would break, and then it was pretty bad.
I can't wait for Disney to do
that. Yeah, I mean, I think Disney has the resources to make that happen, but
instead of Cinderella's Castle, it's either the X Mansion or Avengers Tower. If it's the X Mansion, Chris is gonna go there with the bald.
I can
fucking
hear
thing
one out of every 8 words he's saying.
It's pretty baloney.
Baloney.
That's the word.
Baloney.
All right. On that note, that's about all we got time for.
Wait.
Oh, Jesus.
Pirate, can you wrap us on news?
I don't know.
Short and sweet. All right.
I don't know. That should be part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That should be our opinion section.
I don't know.
All right. That's it for this week. I'm Fox 2. We got Pirate.
Bye, everybody.
Topher.
We should have that as a soundbite, so for the weeks that Pirate doesn't make it, what do you think, Pirate? I don't know.
I don't know. And the whole effing Brian.
Yeah. We should have a whole fucking app that people could download. It's going to be called the Pirate. What Pirate Says app.
The Pirate soundboard.
We could definitely make a Comic Book Nerd Nation soundboard. We have plenty of material to make a massive soundboard with sound bites.
Bye, everybody.
I don't know. Bye, everybody.
It would be.
I didn't read anything.
Giant green dildo.
You'd need 4 buttons. You'd need 4 buttons. One Brian just going, "It's poop." Fox saying "Oh, I think it's gonna suck," and then mine would just be X-Men, 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 and then you just press mine. You wouldn't even need a 4th button for Pirate, because whenever you'd press his, it would automatically get interrupted by one of the other 3.
You just have a half a
random
word of something from him and then just one of our lines. Oh, shit.
No, Megatron. Have it Megatron.
Oh, there you go.
Since you upgraded your mic, we knock on wood, we have not had Pirate Megatron. We might have to bust out your old mic sometime just to have him visit.
For old time's sake.
Just for old time's sake.
Longest goodbye ever.
We will see you guys next week.